Hello Dreamside fans, it is DM Combo. Today I thought I'd take a break from the art tutorial videos and show you something I've been working on over the past couple of weeks. What I have got on my screen here right now is the final spread from Chapter 4. So if you haven't seen the video book for Chapter 4, click the link at the bottom of the screen and you can see the spread as it's used within the story. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because I wanted to tell you, unfortunately, this is no longer in the book. I have updated the spread, and I'm working on the update as we speak. So that's what I wanted to give you a peek at today. Now, the reason that I have changed this spread, I've pretty much modified it completely, is that it no longer fits within either the story needs, the visual style, and it doesn't really communicate the visual motifs that I need it to in order to work as effectively as it can in communicating the story to the audience. Now, I use the word motif. For those of you who are not sure what that means, it's basically an important visual element that communicates some important aspect of the story that's used repetitively. All right. Now, Dreamside's most prominently important motif is flight. And so whenever you're in the fantasy world of Dreamside, I want you to get this feeling of lifting up into the air and feeling like you're freed from the constraints of gravity, and you're moving quickly and upward through a spacious environment. I want that to feel very free because that's going to help contrast the fantasy world with Sarah's somewhat more claustrophobic experience within the real world, where she is constrained within the hospital environment. Now, I do have that to a degree in here, but that, I'm just not really satisfied with the design. I thought that the floating islands were a little bit generic, and I thought that I could do a lot better than this. So I'm going to switch over and show you what I've been doing. Okay, now this is a rough sketch at this point. The line work is getting a little bit close to complete in certain areas, but there's a lot of balancing that I'm still trying to do. And I'm sure at this point it is a little visually confusing for you to see. But I wanted to show you something that is in progress and is not totally finished, for no other reason than because it's taking me just so long to get this piece done. I just couldn't wait to show you some of the new ideas. So what I've got here is, you can see I've still got this idea of these floating islands. But if you take a look at one of them, you'll notice that this island, this is sort of a eureka moment for me, because what I realized is that if I wanted to communicate this idea of aviation and I wanted to keep it consistent throughout, then I realized that I really wanted to bring it not only into the characters and into the animals, the creatures who are very flight-based, but also into the land masses themselves. And just this idea of a floating island isn't really enough. And you can see here, I've incorporated these sort of wing formations here, this shape of wings, this idea that something is just made to be in the air. And you can see it's actually on a sphere at the lowest point. Now, this of course would never stand up if you were to put it on a solid surface. So the only way that this island can really exist in a world like this is to hover in the air. And so because of that, it keeps us it feels like there's really no ground plane around us, okay? And I want to keep that feeling very consistent. It helps communicate this idea that the girls are sort of constantly in flight. And I think that's a strong concept. So yeah, I brought that through with other designs of islands. You'll also notice that in some of the islands I've had I do quite a lot of organic elements as well, but I've been mixing the organic elements with these much more rigid, sort of man-made looking structures, where it looks like a lot of time would have been spent designing and sculpting these structures that are very fantastical and have a sort of otherworldly feel to them. And one of the main reasons for the sort of man-made looking structures, why that's changed from the very organic islands that I had in the previous version, is that I wanted to differentiate the fantasy elements of Dreamside from the nightmare scenes. And oftentimes I think when you have a story like Dreamside, where you have a character who sort of escapes the real world and goes into a fantasy world, which is a very cliche concept, there's often an attempt to differentiate the fantasy world from the real world. But for Dreamside, I'm really more interested in making a sharp division between the fantasy world and the nightmare world. Okay, and in the nightmare world, everything is very organic. And the reason that I chose to do that is that when everything is organic, when there is no solidity in the structures, everything is kind of morphing and changing all the time, and there's sort of an aspect of unpredictability to it. And that can actually be pretty scary because you don't really have the consistency of the landscape to rely on. It's almost like at any given point, the ground may open up beneath Sarah, a mountain may transform into a big sharp spike or something like that that is sort of visually unsettling. So that's something that is very important to the nightmare world. So in Dreamside, I wanted to make sure it wasn't totally organic and I had something that looked much more designed. And there are several other reasons that I'm going in this direction that I don't want to get into right now because they get a bit on the spoilery side. But suffice it to say, there were a lot of reasons that I wanted to revisit this design and give Dreamside its hopefully somewhat unique visual design that you can see here. Of course, you can see it's as I said, it's in progress. I'm probably halfway through. I haven't added any color to it at this point. So don't be too harsh in judging it, but please do let me know what you think about this direction. And over the next couple of weeks as the pieces for this intro into Dreamside evolve and I sort of start to solidify them into the book, I'll be showing you much more progress. And you'll see how I'm also incorporating color in another slightly more unique way within Dreamside. So please do leave your comments below, and I'll be back with another video next week. So we'll see you at that time. Thanks for watching.